Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay? It's good? At the back as well? All right. How's the energy? Is everyone having a good time so far? Good? Good? All right. So I hope everyone's still going to keep the energy going. We have lunch after this, but I hope this is still entertaining for you. So I'm Kartik Lunkad, and I'll be talking about, well, I'm actually going to be talking about HCP Vault Secrets. So that's a little bit of a distinction from what the actual titles say. I was going to announce it, but Arman kind of stole my thunder. But I'll let that go, and I'll tell you more about HCP Vault Secrets. I have been at HashiCorp for a while, and previously I was at VMware and Pivotal, so I've been in the kind of the cloud space building developer tools for a while. So today we're going to talk about, oops, I just realized I haven't been using my clicker. So today I'm going to give you a little bit about the background, about kind of like where we started the journey over the last year or so, talk a little bit about some of the challenges we've seen organizations face. We'll talk more about sort of where we want to take HCP Vault Secrets, tell you a little bit about the outcomes it enables, and kind of give you lastly a summary of sort of the various Vault products. All right, so let's get into it. So I think we've spoken a little bit about sort of the cloud maturity model, so I'll go a little bit just in detail on that. As we've kind of like seen that emergence of sort of using cloud for deploying applications and so forth, we've seen like a few principles that have become pretty prevalent across the organizations we've been talking to. One has been just sort of the overall transition to infrastructure as code, as just really a kind of really prevalent principles for provisioning all of the resources using using code, and you saw a lot of that with sort of the Kyle's work here. The second one has been more around the ability to use identity as sort of the primary mechanism to authenticate and authorize connections between machines, applications, users, right? And this is all sort of moving away from kind of that traditional model where you sort of use the IP-based access policies. And lastly, we've sort of had that movement towards service-based approach where we have been able to sort of use dynamic IP addresses as a way to connect between the various machines and so forth, right? And again, moving away from sort of static hard-coded IP devices. So as you may imagine, I'm here to talk about identity-based security, and of course, more specifically about Vault. Vault has been the standard for security automation and like really for kind of access to secrets, sensitive data, and really sort of being using trusted identity to broker connections between applications and users. And I'm sure this is something I'm talking to people who are familiar with it. Just before I kind of move on, I'm curious to see how many people use Vault in this crowd today. If you could raise your hands. Okay, not bad. All right. Well, for the rest of you, we'll have a conversation after the session. But so you know, have kind of like various sort of use cases with Vault, and one of the most sort of prominent ones has been around secrets management. Just to take a sort of a very quick review of what secrets are, kind of that sort of piece of content that sort of really enables you to authenticate to a service or to a workload. And now that could be your sort of plain text key value pairs. It could be your keys in your code, API keys in your code, or it could be it could be sort of network firewall rules that are stored in your scripts. The other sort of really big use case for Vault has been around sort of certificates and being able to sort of use it as a PKI engine and being able to sort of generate and manage the sort of the life cycle of certificate management. And finally, we've been able to sort of use Vault to protect data, be able to address by centrally managing encryption keys, or even be able to sort of use it as the KMIP server to client that receive cryptographic keys via the KMIP protocol. And lastly, you've also been sort of able to use Vault as like the software security module for sort of safeguarding management of keys. So we had a kind of lot of use cases for Vault. I'm curious from this crowd, how many folks use Vault just for secrets management? Few. Okay. And how many use it for like multiple use cases from here? All right. That's cool. That's really interesting. Thank you. So again, I think Armand spoke about this. I'm not going to go too much into it, but just like a quick recap of sort of where Vault was in 2015. We started with in the open source for really sort of providing secrets management as sort of the primary capability in the open source. Sort of gone on to build Vault for various use cases and Vault with Vault Enterprise. And about last couple of years back, we introduced HCP Vault, so that so you can sort of transfer some of the sort of management work or day-to operations work that you would have with Vault. But sort of as we sort of like been continuing to talking to organizations, in the last sort of couple of years, what we really realized that for a lot of organizations that sort of is known as the born in the cloud organizations, you really have a very different set of secrets management challenges where a lot of times you're comfortable or you'd really want a secrets management focused multi-tenant offering. That's kind of really where the motivation for HCP Vault Secrets really came in. And some of the sort of challenges faced by that, and we'll kind of go through that, are very sort of specific for those organizations. The biggest sort of challenge we have seen for those organizations has been secret sprawl on the rise. What I really wanted was like a very dramatic music when this comes on, but that idea was rejected very quickly. When it comes to sort of secret sprawl, when we started to sort of speak to various organizations, before we went in, we were like, yeah, the only way you're sort of storing secrets and fetching secrets is through Vault. You're gonna put that in here, and sort of your various environments, whether that's dev or your CI or your production, you're just gonna all fetch it from secrets. Boy, we were wrong. What we really saw that was happening was that you had kind of these many places you would have secrets stored. You'd have secrets stored in 1Password or other password managers as a way to sort of share credentials between team members. You'd have secrets being stored in some of the cloud providers, whether that cloud provider secrets managers. You'd have some being stored in Vault, but then you also have like with CI tools like GitHub Actions, Azure DevOps, or some other tool you'd have. And finally, you'd also have kind of like some dev teams be like, nope, I'm going to use some deployment tool and I'm just going to store my secrets there. And that's kind of the first part of it. The second part of it is how they were fetched. And again, every different environments had sort of different mechanisms of sort of fetching those secrets. And before I move on, I want to try and test this hypothesis here. How many organizations have secrets stored in more than one location? Or at least what you're familiar with. All right. Wow. Okay. Thank you. That really proves my point. I'm pretty sure you sort of understand some of the challenges that are faced with this. The platform teams face a few challenges. One is around just the sort of the access management. So you have no common access management because now access to secrets in one location is very different than sort of what the access for secrets in the other one is. The second one, which is the more trickier one, if you have a leaked secret, how do you even go about finding where that secret is being stored in the organization and then actually trying to make sure that any system that's actually using it is able to mitigate it or update it to a sort of a new value. And that can become really difficult as well as really expensive across the organization. And I've seen a few examples of kind of using spreadsheets as a way to sort of coordinate where all the secrets are being stored and tracking the status of it. And now you need a whole team just sort of doing that for you. And lastly, the sort of that unified inventory view is something you don't get. So you don't have a sort of a easy way to see all the secrets that are being used in your organization. And you have to kind of like find those in those different spots. Now, these are challenges, but the question really begs is like, why is this scenario created? Like, why do we have people using different places to store their secrets? Why can't everyone kind of just follow one particular path? And that was really the question for us for like going from platform teams to now going to talking to dev teams. It's like, why is this happening? Why are people wanting to do this? And what we really realized that like there was this sort of constant trade-off that dev teams were having to make. They had to constantly think about, do I prioritize moving fast in terms of building my application, building the velocity of it and shipping it to shipping new capabilities? Or do I have to sort of pick and make sure that we have sort of the right security patterns in place for my application? And I'll kind of share a few examples of it. And I think already with some of the dynamic provider credential capabilities with Terraform, you can see sort of that sort of becoming true. So one of the first things is like that choice between static secrets or being able to sort of rotate your secrets, right? And a lot of times there's sort of good intent from dev teams wanting to be like, yeah, you know what, we do want to rotate our secrets, but some of the kind of the challenges that come into play are, how long is that going to take? Is that going to impact any sort of, and is that going to have any downtime for my applications? What sort of level of coordination will it take between the dev and the platform and other teams to sort of make that happen, right? The second one, which I think is a huge one as well, is that there's a lot of times being able to sort of store your secrets in the CI tool that you're using or some of the cloud provider secrets managers. It's just easy. It's just convenient to be able to sort of store my secrets there, fetch it from there. That's it. I can keep moving fast on my application. Whereas if you kind of try and make sure that everyone uses that sort of central vault, that's why you get sort of that various great picture where everyone's kind of using the different things, right? And finally, that sort of challenge of making sure just that the lights are on from a security perspective and you can kind of focus on the capabilities you need and versus sort of being able to adopt newer security patterns. This happens all the time, even with my own engineering team. I'm a product manager, and I'm constantly sort of having to make that trade-off with our dev teams to say, well, should we be building new capabilities for a product, or should we be sort of improving security? So that sort of that trade-off, it really sort of makes it challenging for a lot of dev teams to be able to prioritize sort of making sure that the right security posture is being used. So these are all challenges that really sort of drove us to think about how do we build HCP Vault Secrets in a way that, and has that sort of right vision where people don't have to make these trade-offs while still platform teams are getting the right kind of the security patterns in place for the organization. So that really sort of drove our vision to be more around centralized secrets lifecycle management for teams wherever secrets are used. So no, this is not just sort of secrets management, but really sort of the entire lifecycle of, right from kind of figuring out where all secrets live in the organization, right to sort of managing them and being able to sort of rotate them or mediate them as needed, right? Ta-da! So that's kind of like where we introduce HCP Vault Secrets beta. This is where I thought I would be introducing it, but oh well, the surprise was sort of a little bit killed. But yeah, I think we're launching this in public beta today, and really our key guiding principles have been, want to make sure that it's simple to use for everyone. Want to make sure that it's something you can start with for free. You can try out the product and sort of understand the experience before you sort of decide to sort of invest more time or invest your organization into it. And really sort of the big point that I've already been discussing, which is not have to make that trade-off. You should be able to increase your developer agility while also kind of be able to improve the security posture. And so the outcomes, and we'll talk a little bit more now in sort of the depth of like what are the sort of the outcomes we'll enable with HCP Vault Secrets. One is around centralizing secrets across clouds and machines, being able to sync secrets to various developer tools and platforms, and finally sort of enabling that developer flexibility in terms of fetching secrets. So getting into it. So centralizing secrets might seem like, yeah, that's just any other, that's just the same capability that you have with Vault. So like, what's really new here? What we are introducing with HCP Vault Secrets is a notion of applications. And the notion of applications along with the HCP multi-project capability that came out recently, you're going to start to see that we spoke about Terraform projects, and we're talking about sort of HCP projects, and you can start to see that we're sort of like broadly aligning on kind of what that organizational mechanisms are. But really, sort of between uh, those two constructs, our intent is to make sure that you can mirror your organizational structure easily onto HCP Vault Secrets. So you could kind of imagine that that basically you have a project which could be your dev environment and sort of like a project for production environment to make sure that that has the right isolation and access boundaries. And then you would have various workloads in the organization mapped to a various set of applications on HCP Vault Secrets, where each HCP Vault Secret application would be a group of secrets that that map to that workload, right? The intent is so that you can actually scale, whether that's as you grow in terms of secrets, as you grow in terms of teams, or any other kind of way, you can continue to be able to mirror that structure on HCP Vault Secrets. And all of that is something you can continue doing while maintaining like the visibility and discoverability of secrets. So you don't have to kind of like make that trade-off between as we grow, it makes it harder to sort of discover the various secrets are being used. And lastly, because we're building this with HCP, a lot of sort of the native benefits that come with HCP are directly integrated with it. The second one, which I think is really sort of the big one here, is, again, going back to sort of that initial challenge of secret sprawl. How do we enable the outcome where platform teams can have that centralized view of secrets, but also dev teams don't have to change their workflow on day zero of how they're fetching secrets? Is where we're introducing syncing secrets as the key outcome or key capability in HCP Vault Secrets. I hope someone's counting the number of times I say secrets today, because that's going to be a lot. So with this, what we're enabling is that you can store your secrets in HCP Vault Secrets and then sync them to AWS Secrets Manager or to GitHub. GitHub coming soon. And what that enables is that dev teams can make sure that they can continue using the workflow as and when sort of that secrets get updated in HCP Vault Secrets. You get those updated values in the destinations as you need, right? So now, in the scenario of a leaked secret or the secret that needs to be changed or rotated, you don't really change your workflow, and you're just sort of being able to fetch that new value. But now is easy for platform teams to push that value out across multiple destinations. And lastly, sort of the other final piece of this was around kind of the developer flexibility that you get with the new product. And there are a few different ways that you can fetch your secrets, now depending on kind of your scenario. So you might be running like a deployment script where you need to be able to fetch a group of secrets into your process environment variables. So you can use the CLI to inject the secrets with our new CLI called the Vault CLI. And you can use the run command as a way to inject those secrets into directly your process. The other way, you could use sort of the API as a way to embed that into your application source code as a way to sort of be able to fetch secrets. And finally, if you're using Terraform, you can make sure that the credentials come from Vault, and that way you're only fetching them as you need for your infrastructure provisioning. So our intent here is that just sort of enabling that flexibility. Also, we use the sort of the common, consistent authentication pattern of HCP service principals across these various scenarios. All right, so I've given you kind of like a preview of the various capabilities here. We'd love to sort of have you sort of check it out today, try it out. I'm here for feedback. I'm also available. We have a few different ways of giving you feedback. I'll give you sort of a quick recap of what the various sort of scenarios are where you want to think about Vault Secrets versus HCP Vault versus Vault Enterprise. So just a quick recap again. HCP Vault Secrets is a multi-tenant offering with a focus on secrets management. You have sort of HCP Vault where you have sort of that dedicated tenant that is being managed by HashiCorp, and you kind of had sort of more use cases that we talked about originally. And then finally, some of the Vault Enterprise, that's something that you self-manage, where you're able to sort of have a lot more number of use cases that you can enable, right? So if you have found value so far in if you think this is interesting and valuable for your organization, please look to join the early adopter program, where you'd get sort of access to new capabilities. So we're building a few new things that are coming soon, more destinations that from a sync perspective. I spoke about AWS Secrets Manager with GitHub coming soon. Other cloud providers and other CI tools are as well coming soon. The other things we're building out are sort of rotation capabilities and also sort of more native integrations with Terraform, so that you can kind of make that, you can store all of your credential needs with Vault and sort of use Terraform for infrastructure provisioning. This program would also enable you to partner with us, make sure that HCP Vault Secrets is valuable and adapts to your needs, and be able to sort of directly partner with us in this process. So urge you to try partner with us here. And finally, as Kyle mentioned, there are a few resources that you can check out. The blog post went out today, as well as the docs and tutorials. And of course, you can go and sign up for HCP Vault Secrets today. That's all I have. Thank you so much. And I'll be here around for more questions. Thank you.